everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Anne. This is a space for vulnerability and truth. I talk about my life, my story, my relationship with God, and everything in between. I'm a little nervous because I'm going to be talking about something that I've kind of been putting off for a long time. I've touched on it in my testimony and in a few other videos, but today I'm going to be solely focusing on my experience in a toxic and unequally yoked relationship and how God delivered me from that. I'll be honest, I didn't really want to talk about it because I didn't think that I was healed from it. I mean, healing is a process. Every now and then there are little triggers, and I think sometimes your scars do itch. The beautiful thing about scars is that we decide if we want to hide them or embrace them. And today I'm going to embrace them because I'm sure there's a lot of people who may be dealing with a similar situation or the same scars and want you to feel seen and heard today. We met my sophomore year of college when I had just gotten to Howard University. I was in DC for the first time. This was my first time in another state by myself. This was the first time I had so much freedom. And I was also freshly out of a 3 to 4 year relationship. I definitely made him, my high school boyfriend, my safe place. My father was not in my life growing up, and I was very hurt by that. I constantly felt like there was a void in my life, and I definitely tried to fill that up with relationships, with validation from men. Losing that connection with my high school boyfriend, even though I was ready to get out of that relationship, everything in me wanted to fill that void as soon as we broke things off. So when I met new man, we'll call him Michael for the sake of this video. When I met Michael, I got comfortable with him really fast. Everything around me was changing, and he was the constant. I began to see him almost every day, if not every 2 or 3 days, and he just became that safe place for me. I got really comfortable with him, and we formed an attachment. A lot of that attachment was also built on the fact that we were intimate with each other, if you know what I mean, very early on, and I think that was a huge mistake. Back then, I was really ignorant to how powerful sex is, to how powerful intimacy is, and how it can almost form a fake bond or heighten a bond. There were so many red flags from the beginning. He was also very unloyal, and I did find out very early, but I still stayed. I definitely lost myself in the relationship. He lived a very different lifestyle than the one that I was used to, and I'm not going to say it was his fault, but I was definitely influenced by him and by other people around me as well. Just the college culture, to start participating in the party lifestyle, to start smoking, to start drinking. On top of that, our relationship specifically turned me into someone I didn't recognize because of the way he treated me. I kind of fell into get back culture and cheating back. Not cheating for real, because, to preface all of this, we were never in a committed relationship. So honestly, the title needs to be situationship, because he never asked me to be his girl. But yeah, the Bible tells us that bad company corrupts good character, and I can definitely attest to that. I also, again, don't want to put the blame on anyone else, because I could have stood on 10 and stood true to myself, but I didn't have that in me at the time. So I was very easily moved. Looking back, I was definitely so scared of being alone. And that's what led me to accept the treatment that I was getting, even though I was so young, and it was crazy that I was even thinking about that. I mean, I could have spent all that time focusing on myself, building myself. Y'all, he was my whole life for real. I'm gonna be completely honest. My mentality was so different. All I cared about was that relationship. I would always be like, I'm leaving, I'm done. And then the next few days I was right back. It was just so draining, y'all. Yet we continued this all the way into my junior year of college. But my junior year is when things started to change. I don't want to get into too much details about this situation because I think it's in the past and it should stay in the past. But there was basically a situation where people were under the influence, things were said, things were done. It turned into a situation where I came home crying, and my roommates, who were my friends at the time, called the police. And the police came, a restraining order was put. I remember feeling so alone during that time. As bad as our relationship was, he was the person I ran through for everything. So I remember that night being in my room, and I was crying the entire day, y'all. I looked so crazy. My eyes were puffed. If I can find a picture, I'm going to put it here because I never see myself look like that in my life. But I remember praying, and I remember being like, God, I don't know what to do. It had been a long time since I had prayed, since I had really talked to God. I grew up in the church, but I don't think I ever formed a deep relationship with God. Them Catholic schools were good for something because I knew that it was God who could help me. Somehow I had convinced myself that God had put us through the situation to make us stronger. And that was my excuse. So restraining order and all, I went back to him. We continued on in our relationship even after all of that occurred. Looking back, I know that that was God shifting things, and eventually it would shift things. Even after going back, I think I tried to pretend that things were normal for a long time, but I never felt the same around him. It was just different. I couldn't erase those memories from my mind. I'm really thankful for that night because I started to pray more. I started to talk to God more. As I grew closer to God, as his presence became more and more apparent in my life, I also started to feel his conviction, especially when we were getting intimate with each other. It didn't feel the same no more. I just started to feel like, what am I doing? I remember even having nightmares about it. I started to realize that God was calling me out of that. So I told him that I needed a break from that. And y'all, clarity. I'm telling y'all, if y'all want some clarity in your life, if you feel like you don't know what's going on, celibacy. Stop doing the do if you want to understand, because I started to see the light as soon as we stopped. It was almost like the veil was being slowly lifted, and I started to actually examine the situation that I had found myself in. And I started to wonder, what exactly was I sticking around for? Because without that, there wasn't much. I feel like I started to realize that his character didn't really align with mine. The way he saw his future didn't even align with mine. And the way he treated me, that's the biggest thing. The way he treated me did not align with the way that I always expected that love would be. Gradually, I started to spend less and less time with him, more and more time alone. By alone, I mean more and more time with God, because I was so scared of being alone, yet God never made me feel alone. Instead of spending time with him, I spent that time getting to know God. I spent that time actually reading my Bible, and eventually God gave me so much courage that I was able to walk away from that relationship entirely. I know that was all God, because months of me saying that I was going to walk away and not walking away. But once Jesus stepped into my life, once Jesus stepped into the room, I got the courage, I got the spirit of boldness to be like, I don't accept this. I think I was so scared of the unknown, but once I got to know God and I realized that even if I don't know the unknown, he does, and I could feel him leading me to end that relationship, I trusted him and I went with it. It was hard. I'm not going to say it was completely easy peasy lemon squeezy and that I didn't miss him, But I think over the time I realized that I wasn't missing him. I was missing the companionship. And the more I focused on God, the less I focused on my lack of companionship. God really covered my lonely, and his love started to heal my heart. It started to heal all the scars that were left from that relationship, but also all the scars that became before that relationship that led me to being in that relationship and accepting that relationship. I wanted love so bad, but I didn't love myself. And the only way that I was going to learn to love myself was by accepting God's love and seeing how much he loves me. He forgave me for everything, y'all. And I did so much. And he spared me from so many horrible realities. I think of the fact that I could have got pregnant. I could have been stuck. It could have altered my entire life. And I think of where I am now. Ooh, please. I hate crying on camera. Like, I hate that I do this every time. He has been so good to me. He has been so good to me, y'all. I remember I was so scared to let go of that relationship. I was so scared to be alone. I was so scared that like I would never find someone who cared about me. Just to find God and to realize how much he loved me the entire time. And he brought so many blessings into my life afterwards. Everything that I had to release to him, it was so hard. Not just that relationship, but like other relationships. Letting go of my lifestyle, letting go of who I was. Hold on, I need to get myself together. Y'all, this be like therapy for me, honestly. If you're on the other side of the screen and you're struggling with this, I just want you to know that you are not alone. I remember feeling so scared of what was on the other side of letting go, what was on the other side of walking away. But I promise you, I used to cry every night during that season, during those seasons where it was just heavy removal, where God was just taking one thing after the other and just changing so much in my life. I was so scared because I could see the old me like passing away in front of my eyes. And we don't talk about like how crazy it is to watch yourself die, because death does come before the new. I remember God would just tell me to hold on, just trust me. And I held on to that, y'all. I really held on to that. He's given me more than I asked for. He's given me such a beautiful life. He took my mess of a life. He found me in a mess, in a literal mess. And he changed it, y'all. I know people are probably so tired of me with this Jesus stuff and they just don't get it. But I'm telling y'all, he changed everything for me. And if he did it for me, he can definitely do it for you. Mini testimony, y'all. But I am now in the best relationship that I've ever been in my life. A relationship that I feel seen and heard, that God is the center of. And it came at the perfect time, y'all. I had to trust God. I had to let go and let him be God. And I know that's easier said than done. But if I did it, y'all, and I'm telling y'all, there was no strength in me whatsoever. It's not by my strength that I'm standing here, but it's truly by the Holy Spirit. And I just want everyone to experience this. I want everyone to experience the freedom that comes with walking with the Lord. That's my testimony. That's my story, y'all. It felt good to release that. So thank you guys. If you've made it this far in the video, I'm so sorry that I cannot get myself together right now. I hope this inspires someone. I hope that my story could be a beacon of hope for anybody who could be in a dark season, because I completely remember and I see you and you're hurt. And with love always. I'll talk to y'all later.